When we drink tea, we don't just taste it, we also feel it in our mouth. But how do we talk about that? Hey everyone, I'm Sigi, and I'm back with the fourth entry in the PU'ER Tea Lexicon series. Today, we are going to talk about Kou Gan, or mouthfeel. Kou Gan refers to how a tea feels in the mouth. It can be translated as either mouthfeel or texture, two words that English-speaking tea drinkers are likely already familiar with. Some people, however, also couple it with references to certain tastes and fragrances. Here's an example from Shi Kunmu, a Taiwanese tea scholar whom I've taken a lot from for the research for this entire project. He says that good tea should achieve a balance of fragrance, gan, smoothness, weight, sourness, sweetness, bitterness, and astringency. First off, let's look at some terms that are directly related to mouthfeel. There's no mi gan, which is a glutinous feeling. It's characterized by high viscosity, a sort of condensed feeling in the mouth, and maybe even a faint aroma of glutinous rice. Usually, this quality is associated with higher quality ancient tree spring tea. Next up, there is a gelatinous mouthfeel, which is jiaozi, and refers to the degree of colloids present in a tea. It is a mouthfeel that's comparable to something like rice soup, and it contributes to the impression of smoothness overall. Tea from older trees is usually considered to contain more colloids overall, and its presence in tea is also an indicator of a healthy ecosystem. After that, we have ding, which is a stinging mouthfeel. It's a negative quality, and it's a feeling of pins and needles, usually experienced all over your tongue. Then, there's also one thing that some of you may already be familiar with, and that's ma, which is felt on the whole tongue. It's the numbing feeling you get when eating Sichuan peppercorn. Finally, there's zao, which is a dry feeling that is felt on the cheeks and in the throat. And it's comparable to the feeling of dryness when you're dehydrated. Important to note at this point is that this is not the same thing as astringency. So this one in particular is not necessarily caused by the tannins present in a tea and the polyphenols, I think. However, let's move on to the second category, which is soft tea. In Chinese, soft, in this sense, is called rou, and it is usually associated with a delicate and gentle tea that exhibits a quality that is described in the four-letter idiom Shang Xin Yue Mu, or a tea that warms the heart and delights the eye. It has no bitterness and astringency. However, this kind of soft tea is not to be mistaken with insipid tea. This soft tea is like the gentle but controlled motions of shadow boxing that don't reveal the strength that lies behind them. It's a very important distinction. Soft is a good thing, insipid obviously is not, and the two are very distinct from each other. Along with this kind of softness, this row, there is a concept that is called soft with firmness, or rou zhong dai gang. And this, I think, is best described by looking at teas from the Iwu region. Iwu teas are known for having the type of softness I just described. But this particular characteristic is present in Iwu teas that have also been stored properly. It's said that the honey aroma of these teas becomes more dense over the years. Their intensity increases, their taste thickens, and their aftertaste deepens. In other words, storage lends structure or firmness to the tea's initial softness. I have one more category today, and that is a sort of loose connection of other terms that are related to Kou Gan. Let's take a look at those. First off, there is a cooling sensation, which is called liang or feng. And this in particular is felt in the middle and the back of your mouth in high quality tea. However, coolness in the throat is sometimes related to some aged tea that is older than 20 years. So one thing that's kind of interesting to point out here is that it doesn't just matter that this kind of cooling sensation is present, it also matters where it takes place. Does it take place in your mouth, at the back of your mouth, or maybe even in your throat? All three of these are distinct to some extent. Next up, there is Yo Run Gan, which is an oily feeling. And this is kind of related to the tea stains on wrappers, the oils that slowly seep out of the cells as they break down with aging. This gives the tea a slightly shiny appearance when it's dry, and is kind of comparable to the glutinous feeling we discussed earlier, but a bit more slippery and moisturizing. Next up, there is a rich and mellow feeling, which is called Shang Chun. And this one was honestly kind of hard to explain and understand. The best way I found to do it is a kind of analogy to a comparison between two types of chicken soup. A soup that's made with a chicken bouillon cube and a soup that's made by boiling chicken meat and bones will both taste like chicken, but the latter soup will have a kind of rich feeling that simply isn't present in the former. And this kind of richness is what's being referred to here. So if your tea tastes rich in that, proper home-style chicken soup kind of way, then it might be rich and mellow. It might have shang chun. Okay. The next term is one that we are already familiar with from the Ziwei video, and that is qing, or a clear feeling. A tea that just feels fresh, light, and pure. This term also shows up again when it comes to mouthfeel, because obviously the mouthfeel of a tea is also relevant when deciding whether a tea gives you that impression or not. Finally, there's one more term to talk about today, and that is yuan run. It's translated as something along the lines of round. And from what I could find, the connotations with this particular term seem to be the same as when you're using the word round to describe the impression of a tea in English. It's a tea that feels well balanced, without any kind of rough edges. Also important to note, this sensation is often talked about in the context of Shu Pu'er, though I've also seen it mentioned along with some Hei Cha, but it's usually mainly Shu. Okay, so these are all some terms that relate to the idea of Kou Gan or mouthfeel in Chinese. I hope some of these were new and interesting to you. Maybe you'll be able to adopt some of these or find them in some of the teas you try. However, that's all for today. I will be back next month with another entry in the PU'ER TEA Lexicon. This is a very long and ongoing project, but I hope you all enjoy what I'm doing here, and we'll see each other next time. Goodbye.